So when it comes to Erika Kirk, I want to offer a different angle because I see where people are going. I get the psychopathic, narcissistic, compulsive liar. Ugh. But I think it's a little played out. And honestly, I think we need to zoom out. And the angle I'm going to propose is actually looking at the mother-daughter relationship. Now, I don't know much about Lori. I haven't done any autobiographical research. But I will say, I know archetypes. And I know a pageant mom when I see one. So, for the record, there are wonderful, great Jubilee pageant mothers. And there are vicious ones, there are sinister ones, and there are sick ones. So, for the sake of this conversation, I will be referring to the latter, the unskillful application of the pageant mom. So, one thing that's very clear to me is that Erika Kirk does not have a true sense of authority. So I don't even mean any disrespect by this, but I think a lot of people are giving her too much credit. She's not the brains of the operation. She's not one who came up with this on her own. She really is the woman who, if she gets enough praise and enough showtime, that will build up her confidence to be someone who has presence. But she doesn't actually have presence from within. It's not innate. It's just manufactured. And all of the right variables are in place for her to exude some sort of authority, but it's because people are in her ear talking her up. Okay? So one of the things that I would like to offer to this dialogue is many cultural commentators are making comparisons of other political figures. Now, in terms of her grieving or lack thereof, I think that's fair. But Erika Kirk isn't here for politics. Okay? Other avenues for her did not work out. And the political scene happens to be her backdrop that gave her enough momentum. But what I'm actually going to propose is what's worth evaluating is the mother-daughter relationship. And I think a more, a more accurate analysis can be done by comparing her, Lori and Erika, to Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian. Oh yeah. And also include Tina Knowles and Beyoncé in this comparison. Yes. I am posing the argument that all three of these women are actually just products of the same beast. They're creations of the same monster. And it's ironic that all three of them are presenting as some sort of like powerhouses. But the reality is they were all groomed. And Kris Jenner is very well documented of pimping out her daughter. But I'm also going to make the theory that Beyoncé and Erika probably experienced something similar from their mothers. It may not be as explicit as coordinating a sex tape for the world to see, but there is something particular to note about these type of mothers, and it's how they relate to sexuality and beauty. And there's something odd where when they reach a certain time, something inside of them says, I can no longer leverage what I once had, namely youth, sexuality, beauty, the effervescent, to get things that I want or need, namely material gain. So instead, I'm actually going to use my daughter's youth and sexuality as a tool and a pawn to position certain things, to make certain connections, to have access to certain resources, to step into specific rooms, because I can't play that card the same anymore. But she can. So, what I'm going to do is look like a very involved mother who is telling her how to present herself, how to look beautiful, how to do, X, Y, and Z, how to talk to someone, and make her feel like she has so much power from the beauty that she is now using as a chess piece. But the reality is, I'm still the one in control, and I'm the one pulling these strings. And what's perfect is, because this is all a performance, we emotionally position and manipulate things to have her perform for love, perform for attention, perform for acceptance, perform for, namely, desirability. Because frankly, much of how women view their own worth is based on how desirable they are. So what could be more desirable than the world, the nation, clapping for you, watching you, being an audience to you? And unfortunately, the grooming begins young, early, and they become more pliable. Because if you tell them that they're doing a really good job, to quote Kris Jenner, didn't she say something like, "Great job, sweetie"? For Erika, the performance is pageantry, right? Beyoncé, I would say an actual entertainer. The performance is singing and dancing. I feel like she's kind of masked the grooming the best because it appears the most legit. The Kardashians gave no fucks. It's just a sexual performance, as the mannequins that they are, monetizing off of that. And what we find is that these women get in certain positions of power, of course, but from my view over here, on the other side of the screens, from what I'm seeing, they just look like cash cows to me. They just look like cash cows to me. And I could argue that Beyonce's talent was actually weaponized and exploited against her. The Kardashians don't have any talent in sight, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they've added much value of anything. From my perspective, they are just perpetuating a completely sick, distorted beauty standard. But they certainly know how to perform a pornographic image, which is an empty sexual performance, as their brand. It seemed to get them pretty far with the brains of their mother. And Erika and her performance is the political wife, the pastor's wife, even though Charlie wasn't a pastor, still giving that like mega church first lady vibe. Because she hit a ceiling with reality show. The Kardashians at least took off with that. She also hit a ceiling with, music. I think she was in a music video, and acting, pageantry didn't work out for her. So Erika's next best performance, the political route, not a bad detour, not a bad one at all. But I do want to emphasize, I think wearing the lens of Erika desiring some sort of like political place or political stance or like getting into politics, I think we may discover more if we zoom out and look at these women as examples of nefarious intentions. And perhaps the mothers aren't nefarious in their intention, but they certainly have nefarious connections, and they certainly know how to move in a room of sharks and make their daughters think that they're the big fish in the sea. So, food for thought, that's what I'll be examining. You're welcome to join the dialogue as I continue, but this is where I'm going to begin.